Card Wars was amazing. On February 7th, 2014, Cartoon Network Studios released the official Adventure Time inspired mobile game, Card Wars, on the Google Play Store for $5. The game's concept was very simple to understand and easy to play. At the beginning of the game, each player chose which 4 landscapes they wanted to place down on the virtual board. Each player had a deck of cards that were divided into 3 categories: creature cards, spell cards, and building cards. Each creature card had a symbol that correlated with one of the 5 landscapes, which meant that a specific landscape had to be placed down for a certain creature to activate on it. A player could choose to put down 4 of the same landscapes or 4 different landscapes. There were also creature and building cards with a rainbow symbol on them, which meant that they were able to be placed down on all of the landscapes. The goal of the game was to use creatures and spells to open up the opponent's lane and make them vulnerable to attacks that would deplete their HP until it was reduced to 0, essentially winning the game. If you want to learn more about the game, I have attached a link to the wiki in the description which will explain some of the things I missed about the game. Before I continue, you are probably noticing that none of the footage on screen is mine. I played this game long before I wanted to do YouTube and therefore never recorded any footage. And since the game no longer exists on the App Store, I unfortunately have to show other channels playing this game. Links to these channels will be in the description. What made this game so magical to me when I played it on my Amazon Fire tablet as a kid was the polished animations of the cards. The creatures and buildings literally came to life on the screen with their own unique animations. Unlike Hearthstone or Yu-Gi-Oh!, Card Wars was the only trading card game that allowed the player to see the creatures on their cards come to life and fight in real time. These animations made the game extremely immersive and captivating, like I was actually in Adventure Time. The strategy aspect of Card Wars was surprisingly convoluted, yet rewarding. To be good at the game, you had to put thought behind every card you placed down during the match. Certain creatures did a lot of damage but had low health, while others had a ton of health but low damage. Being able to customize your deck to suit specific playstyles was nothing short of incredible. My go-to deck was filled with creatures that did an insane amount of damage, but also had a few defensive creatures and buildings so that I could have a couple of tanks used to absorb damage on an open landscape. For $5, the amount of content Card Wars had to offer was honestly overwhelming in a good way. There was a map where you could progress against AI opponents whose difficulty ramped up naturally. After every AI opponent you defeated, certain chests, aka loot boxes, were dropped, which contained creatures and buildings of certain rarities. The rarities ranged from normal to algebraic. Algebraic cards and very rare cards were outlined in gold and were the best rarity of cards in the game. There were 2 kinds of ways you could unlock algebraic cards. You could either get them through playing the AI map, which took a long time to fully unlock, or you could open the specific loot box chest containing the algebraic cards directly with gems. Gems were given for free in the game if you reached certain quotas during an AI match. For example, in order to get 1 gem from an AI match, the quotas could have been something along the lines of having only blue plains cards in your deck, not going below 30 HP, and not using any spell cards. If you completed those quotas, you would get a gem, and it would take 3 gems to open up the legendary chest. Now this should have been the only way to get gems, but it unfortunately was not. Up until this point of the video, you were probably thinking, why did Cartoon Network remove such a cool game from the App Store? They made a ton of money off of it, and most of the players adored it, myself included. There's no official reason as to why Cartoon Network removed it, but there were 2 major issues in the game which I think contributed to its downfall. The first massive issue is that the game was semi-pay to win. Remember how I said earlier that you could technically get gems for free via completing quotas? Well, there was a less noble way, and that was paying for the gems directly through the in-game shop. The prices range from getting 1 gem for $1 all the way up to getting 85 gems for $50. Mind you, that only costs 3 gems for a chance to get an algebraic card, which meant that if a player had 85 gems, they had 27 chances to get an algebraic card, and just so you know, the drop rate percentage of these cards was pretty high. I got algebraic cards often, which meant so did everybody else. Now this honestly wasn't too big of an issue because you could have the greatest deck on earth but still lack any strategy needed to win a game. The main problem with this is the convenience of it. A player who chose not to spend any additional money on the game would have to play through the entire AI map and earn the gems in order to acquire algebraic cards. On the other hand, a player who had a lot of money could just pay to have an insane deck given to them on a silver platter. Now yes, this technically was a player choice, but I don't think it should have been. Gems should have only been given through the game itself and not in an item shop because it takes away from the player's experience. Why grind a game and earn cards when you can just pay for them instead? This leads me to the second issue. One of the major appeals of Card Wars for me was the online tournament seasons. Each season, players could enter into the tournament. For every game you won, you would get a certain amount of trophies, and these trophies were displayed on a leaderboard. By the end of the season, players were given cards of varying rarities based on how many trophies they obtained. The singular player who got first place by obtaining the most trophies out of everyone else got a black card, which didn't cost any mana to put down, as well as a gold card. Players from 1 to 10th place got gold cards, and the rest of the players got normal cards and coins. Now on paper, this competitive system is pretty good, except for one major problem. You see, when you played a match, you weren't actually playing against another human being in real time. You were actually playing against a human being's deck, which meant, you guessed it, more AI. It wasn't player versus player, it was technically player versus bot. Imagine that, a trading card game that did not allow you to play against real people. For me, this killed the game because it messed with the whole point of the game, strategy. I didn't want to outplay a bot that isn't real, I wanted to outplay an actual human being. There was no real point to grind out competitive because you weren't playing against people. Think about how lame chess would be if instead of playing against a person, you played against a robot. There is no satisfaction winning against a robot that doesn't have a brain. It frustrates me to this day to think about because it was such a stupid mistake that probably could have been fixed. I think the reason Cartoon Network didn't do this is because if they did make the game PvP, then players would want balance changes to cards, and Cartoon Network just didn't want to bother. On December 19th, 2019, Card Wars was taken off the App Store for iOS and Android. Online play was disabled, and the only people who could still play the game were those who already owned it. I was shocked when this happened. I never expected Cartoon Network to just throw away an amazing game so suddenly and randomly. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but they could have made simple changes that would have fixed the issues I mentioned before. There was a lot of speculation from the community as to why this happened. Some people believe that the game wasn't making enough money for Cartoon Network to keep the servers going, while others believe that because the Adventure Time show had concluded, Cartoon Network wanted the game to end with it. Whatever the reason for the game's death, I still miss it a lot. Some of my greatest memories as a kid were from playing Card Wars. Fortunately though, there is some hope for the game's return. Recently on Kickstarter, Cryptozoic Entertainment and Cartoon Network are teaming up to make a 10-year anniversary physical Card Wars box set, which will release in September of 2024. If enough money is raised for it and it's successful, then there's a chance that Cartoon Network might cave and bring back the mobile game version of Card Wars. So I will end the video on this note. If the Cartoon Network CEO somehow watches this video, please bring back the mobile Card Wars game. I love it and so do thousands of players. I hope one day we will get to see its return, but only time will tell. I hope everyone has a happy New Year's. Thank you for watching this video and I'll see you all in the next one.